I was at that point discussing about the histology of the alimentary canal, and in this session just starting with a picture, then you can see what are the positions of that layer. So, you see this is the lumen of the alimentary canal, okay, and this is the mucosa, this is the innermost mucosa layer written here. This mucosa layer is again having what? You see outer muscularis mucosa, then this is the lamina propria, and this is the basement membrane. Okay. So, this is all about the mucosa. Then this is the submucosa, you see this is the submucosa layer, and this is the muscularis layer, and this is the serosa layer. So, this is the diagram of different parts of the or histological view of the alimentary canal. Okay. So, now we shall start different parts of the alimentary canal. So, in my previous session I have told you that the alimentary canal starts with mouth. The first part of the alimentary canal is mouth. So, now we shall discuss detail about the mouth in different vertebrates. Okay. So, what is mouth? Mouth is the opening through which we take food material, and this is the mouth. So, mouth is the opening of the alimentary canal through which food material enters, that means through which we can take food material, and this mouth leads to one cavity, that cavity is known as buccal cavity. Okay. So, mouth leads to the buccal cavity. For example, you see, so now I am closing my mouth is closed. So, I am opening my mouth, so I open. So, yes, so this opening immediately leads to one what? Cavity. That means you can compare this one with a door. So, if the room or if the house or a room is your buccal cavity or mouth cavity, then door is the mouth. That means once we open the door, then anyone can enter. So, just like if anyone can be compared with a food material, so once you open the door, then once you open the mouth, the food enters to one cavity, that is the buccal cavity. So, now we shall see what are different type of mouth or what type of mouths are present in different organisms. So, if I say about the chordates, the first comes to the lamprey. So, in case of lamprey, so what about the lamprey, or this is the what? Lamprey, or this is known as the cyclostome. So, cyclostome is a primitive vertebrate. So, in lamprey or cyclostomata, it is a circular opening at the base of the buccal funnel and remains permanently open due to lack of jaws. Okay. So, due to absence of jaws, so in case of lamprey, in case of cyclostomes, the mouths are always, or mouth is always open. Just you imagine, in case of you, due to presence of lip, your mouth is even closed. Whenever we are using the mouth, or whenever the mouth is come to its function, at that time we open the lips, so that mouth is open. But in case of lamprey, in case of primitive vertebrates or cyclostome, the mouth is permanently open, and this is present just below the buccal funnel. In case of gnathostomes, so this is all over the lamprey. So, in case of gnathostomes, okay, gnathostomes, this includes from the tetrapod like gnathostomes. So, in case of gnathostomes, that means where jaw is present, it is terminal. So, in case of lamprey, this is ventral, or it is present, or it is at the base of the what? Funnel. But in case of vertebrates, this is always present at the terminal position. Mouth is bounded by, in case of vertebrates or in case of gnathostomes, mouth is bounded by lips which are immovable and formed of cornified skin in fishes, amphibians and reptiles. Okay. In mammals, we shall see in mammals, these are fleshy, muscular and movable. Again I am telling, so in case of gnathostomes, again gnathostomes again include the first one, this is the fish, and second one the amphibians, third one the reptiles, then birds and mammals. So, what I want to say, in case of all this, the lips are present, the mouth is closed by, or mouth is guarded by lips are present. So, mouth is bounded by lips which are immovable and formed of cornified skin in fishes, amphibians and reptiles. Okay. In mammals, in case of us for example, these are fleshy, lips are fleshy and muscular and movable. Okay. So, the mouth opening is guarded by lips, and in case of mammal this is movable, but in case of other this is not movable. Now come to the buccal cavity. So this is all about the mouth, simply the opening is known as mouth. So now come to the buccal cavity. So next part of the alimentary canal is the buccal cavity, that is mouth follows to another portion, the most important part, that is the buccal cavity. So this is what is buccal cavity. The buccal cavity is the space or a cavity which actually keep food material for preliminary breaking, then finally sends to the tract. So this is the important function of the buccal cavity. So before entering the buccal cavity, you can see that a space is present between the lips and jaw. So if I tell about the gnathostomata, and in case of gnathostomata the jaw is there. So you just feel, in case of yourself, you feel yourself, you have the lips and you have the jaw. Do you or have you feel that in between the jaw and lip there is a space, okay, there is a space between the jaw and the lip, okay, between lip, first lip is there, then jaw. So in between the jaw and lip there is a space present, and that space is known as, so if I say this is the buccal cavity, you see the buccal cavity. So before entering the buccal cavity I can tell about the vestibuli. So this space is known as vestibuli, okay. So vestibuli, so this is vestibuli. So the space between the lips and the jaw is known as vestibuli. It may be bounded on the outside by cheeks and on the inside by gums, okay. So the vestibuli, then come to the gum, okay. Then mucous glands of the cheeks open into the vestibuli, mucous gland of the cheeks open to the vestibuli. The mouth opens to the buccal cavity, which is a space between the mouth and the pharynx. That means below the buccal cavity pharynx is there, outer to the buccal cavity mouth is there. So the mouth opens to the buccal cavity, which is a space between the mouth and the pharynx. Then the exact point where the stomodium, that means the mouth, or stomodial ectoderm and pharyngeal endoderm merge is variable and not easy to ascertain, or it is not easy to ascertain, that is discern, okay. Now come to the second point. Now we shall see what type of buccal cavity is present in different tetrapods. So first you come to the elasmobranch or cartilaginous fish. So in case of cartilaginous fish or in case of elasmobranchs and most of the bony fishes also, the nasal cavities do not open into the buccal cavity, okay. So nasal cavity is separated from the buccal cavity. So what I am telling, in case of elasmobranchs and most of the fishes, the nasal cavities do not open into the buccal cavity. In chondriocthes, that is in case of what, this elasmobranch and tetrapod amphibians, the nasal cavity is open into the buccal cavity by one structure that is called as choani or internal nares, which are primitively placed anteriorly. In case of crocodiles, birds and mammals, they become posterior in the pharynx due to the formation of a secondary palate, which effectively separates the respiratory nasal passage from that of the mouth cavity or food passage. So you just imagine yourself, you have a buccal cavity. So this buccal cavity has a roof that is called as palate or secondary palate. Above the palate there is the nasal passage. That means external nostril opens here and the air passes through the external nostril, and this passes through the what? The above of the or upper position of the palate. So in case of higher vertebrates, what happens? A secondary palate is there which effectively separates the respiratory nasal passage from that of the buccal cavity or food passage, okay. Then come to the next point. In case of bird, in birds, this palate is a cleft, this is cleft due to which nasal and buccal cavities communicate with each other, okay. In case of mammal, the secondary palate is continued posteriorly as a membranous soft palate. So you just imagine yourself, your upper palate or palate is posteriorly form one glandular structure that is known as uvula. So in mammals, secondary palate is continued posteriorly as a membranous structure or to a membranous soft palate. In case of human, that soft palate is known as what? That is known as uvula. So in human being, the soft palate hangs into the laryngeal pharynx, in the form of a fleshy process that is called as uvula. Just you see your own mouth, you just see. So if this is the upper jaw and this is the lower jaw, you see this is the hard palate, and this hard palate gradually becomes soft and this forms one structure that is called as uvula. This is actually hanging in the laryngeal pharynx region in case of men. Okay. So now this is all about the structure. Then come to the oral gland. So that means I want to now say the derivatives of the buccal cavity. So if this is the buccal cavity, then what type of derivatives or what type of structures are present in the buccal cavity? The most important structure present in the buccal cavity, that is the oral glands. Oral means also the mouth. The oral glands are present, oral glands. So there are two kinds of integumentary multicellular glands opening into the buccal cavity. Okay, again I am telling, there are two kinds of integumentary multicellular glands opening into the buccal cavity. That means they are derived from the what? That is derived from integument and they are present in the oral cavity. So they are, what are they? They are the mucous glands and enzymatic glands. Mucous glands and enzymatic glands. Fishes and aquatic amphibians have only mucous glands. Okay. So what are the oral glands present in case of fishes and amphibians? They are only the mucous glands. They secrete only mucus. But reptiles have glands in groups such as palatine, lingual, sublingual and labial glands named according to location. They produce the mucus. So in case of reptiles, these glands are again of different types. They also secrete mucus. They are palatine, lingual, they are sublingual and they are labial, and this name is given according to their position, according to the location in the buccal cavity. So that means in case of fishes, in case of amphibians and in case of reptiles, the glands are present in the oral cavity or buccal cavity. They are known as oral glands and they are engaged in secretion of mucus only. Okay. Then in poisonous snakes, this is also reptile, but this is to some extent different from the reptiles. In poisonous snakes, the upper labial glands are modified to secrete venom. Okay. In case of in case of snakes, that is poisonous snakes, the upper labial glands, this do not secrete the mucus, rather it secrete venom. In case of birds, sublingual glands, in case of plants, that means birds have also sublingual glands and a gland in the angle of the mouth. Now come to the mammals. Mammals have many small mucous glands besides true and enlarged salivary glands which are enzymatic. Again point to be remember, in case of mammals, two type of glands are there, that is the mucous gland and enzymatic glands. So mammals have many small mucous glands inside the oral cavity or buccal cavity besides a true and enlarged salivary gland which actually secrete enzyme. Their glands are actually, they are the parotid gland, sublingual gland, submaxillary gland and infraorbital salivary glands, and they secrete mucin and ptyalin enzymes. Okay. So what I am telling to you, I am telling about the derivatives of the buccal cavity in different vertebrates. So this is why known as comparative anatomy. I am comparing, I am giving a comparative statement, I am giving a comparative study of different vertebrates, oral glands. Okay. So the most important one is in case of the mammals, they have both type of glands in buccal cavity and they are secreting mucus and enzymes, and the most important enzyme secreting gland in case of the mammal is the salivary gland, and this salivary gland is again is of parotid. This may be sublingual, submaxillary, and this is infraorbital. Okay. So now come to the next point, tongue. In case of the buccal cavity, the first derivative of the buccal cavity is the oral gland. Secondly, a most important structure is present inside the buccal cavity, we know, that is known as tongue. The tongue is found mostly in all vertebrates. So it is a vertebrate character. Tongue in vertebrates show much diversity and are not homologous. It is not homologous. That means in case of vertebrate, this is not homologous in all the vertebrates. Okay. For example, in case of cyclostomes, there is a muscular, fleshy, rasping tongue with horny teeth for rasping the skin and muscles of the prey. We know in case of cyclostome, there is a muscular fleshy tongue. For example, this is a tongue in case of cyclostome. For example, this is a tongue, and this tongue contains a number of what? Denticle like structures, so that this is rasping in nature, rasping. That means whenever this will come in contact with the prey, at that time this will rasp the prey, it will make a cut in the prey. That means the blood will oozing out from that prey. So in cyclostome, there is a muscular, fleshy, rasping. So this type of tongue is known as rasping tongue. So this is rasping, and I am telling about the cyclostome. So this is a rasping tongue, and this is muscular and contains the horny tooth, there is horny teeth for rasping the skin and muscles of the prey. So once the rasping occurs, or once it make a cut against the surface of the what? Prey, then from that point blood comes out, and this actually sucks the blood. So this is all about the cyclostome. This is the most primitive vertebrate one. Then come to the fishes. Fishes have a primary tongue formed of a fleshy fold of the buccal floor. So how this tongue is formed? This is formed due to folding of the buccal floor. So in case of fishes, there is a tongue which is formed of the what? Folding of the buccal floor. It has no muscles, but receptors and teeth are present on the tongue in some bony fishes. Again, in case of fishes, what happens? The teeth are not present, that means but receptors and teeth are present on tongue of in some bony fishes, but no muscles in fishes. That means in common fishes, the tongue is not rasping one, the teeth are not present on the tongue, but in some cases receptors and teeth are present in the tongue of some bony fishes. Okay. So now come to the next one. The tongue is covered, generally the tongue is covered with a membrane, and that membrane is called as mucous membrane. The tongue is covered by a membrane that is known as mucous membrane. In some amphibians, the tongue is either lacking or immovable. That means in some amphibians, either it is lacking, in some it is movable. In most amphibians, however, have a protrusible tongue. This tongue can come out, and in some frogs and toads, it may be folded back on itself when not in use. The most important thing is that in case of frog, for example, this is the buccal cavity of the frog. So buccal cavity of the frog. So in case of the buccal cavity of the frog, the tongue is there, but the important thing is that this tongue is attached to the surface or front surface of the what? Lower jaw, so that this tongue will come out like this. Okay, and again it will be fold back. Okay. In case of frogs, what happens? This tongue is folded back to its buccal cavity because this is attached to the what? The front surface of the lower jaw. So whenever it will be used, at that time this will again unfold like this, and again in not use, this will be fold like this. Okay. So what I am telling, most amphibians however have protrusible tongue, and in some frogs and toads it may be folded back on itself when not in use. It can be thrown out whenever it is used. It can be thrown out of the mouth. It will be thrown out of the mouth by rapid inflow of the lymph for capturing the insect. The most important thing is that, so for example, you see just, so this is the, for example, this is the buccal cavity and this is the tongue. So whenever the prey comes in contact with this frog, at that time this frog will immediately everts the tongue, or it will be what? It will throw the tongue against the prey, and this tongue will be loaded with, and this tongue will the tongue will give what? This will give the inflow of lymph for the against the capturing prey. So the tongue will immediately be what? It will be loaded with the inflow of the what? Lymph, so that the insect will be captured. Okay. So it can be thrown out of the mouth in rapid inflow of lymph for capturing the prey. So this is the most important phenomenon which is found in case of the frog regarding the eversion of the throwing of the tongue. So the tongue in lizard, Again we come to the next one, because after amphibia there is the reptile. So what I am telling, what I am discussing one by one. First the fishes, the tongue of the fishes, then the amphibians, then the reptiles, then the bird, then the mammal, so that I am covering the anatomical aspect of one by one structure of the digestive system. Okay. So the tongue in lizards, in case of lizards there is reptile, the tongue in lizards and snakes is often highly developed. So in them the tongue is very developed. In chameleons, especially we know chameleons, it is very extensive, used to capture the insect. So chameleon is one reptile. So what actually the chameleon does? This chameleon simply sits on a twig, on a branch of the tree. Whenever it actually marks one prey, at that time this can throw the tongue up to, or extend the tongue to a considerable distance. So very long what? The very long tongue is there. So in case of chameleons, it is very extensible, used to capture the insect. Okay. So this is about the tongue of lizards and reptiles. Now come to the next one. So the tip of the tongue, that is the tip is thickened and sticky in case of this reptile. So in case of reptile, the tip of the tongue is thickened and it is sticky. So that means it just like the glue like structure, so that it can capture the prey. Whenever it will come in contact with the prey, the sticky nature of the tongue can capture the prey, or the prey will adhere, the prey can adhere, or the prey generally adheres to the tip of the tongue. Okay. So the forked tip, in case of snake, if we examine the snake, in case of snake the tongue is forked. So the forked tip of the tongue in snakes serves as a means of transferring chemical stimuli from the external environment to the paired vomeronasal organ on the roof of the mouth. The most important character of the snake, generally snakes have not any type of what, that is the ear. So they cannot hear, because they do not have an ear. So what they use actually, they use the tongue. So the forked tip, that means the tongue is forked, the tip of the tongue is bifurcated. So the forked tip of the tongue in snake serves as a means of transferring chemical stimuli from the external environment, okay, to the paired vomero, that is this is present in the upper jaw, vomeronasal organ on the roof of the mouth. So it can absorb the sense, or it can absorb the stimuli of the external of the environment. So this is all about the tongue of the reptiles. So in case of bird, the next come to the next vertebrate, that is bird. So in case of bird, the tongue is slender. In bird the tongue is slender. If you observe the bird, in case of, if you have seen the that is the fowl, that the tongue is there in their beak, so it is seen. So in birds the tongue is slender, a long tongue is there and has a horny covering. Okay. In some birds tongue is immobile. In some birds the tongue is immobile, the tongue is constant, it cannot come out, while in some birds it is long. So in some birds this is immobile, this is cannot come, or this is not movable, while in some birds it is long, protractile, can come out, and often used for capturing the prey. In some birds, not in all. Okay. Then come to the mammal. In most of the mammals, the most important part of the alimentary canal in case of the mammal, or buccal cavity of the mammal, is the tongue, because this tongue is very important in chewing, in talking, or expression of the articular speech. Okay. So in most mammals except whales, again important thing is that except whales, the tongue is highly developed. In mammal the tongue is highly developed and capable of considerable movement. You just imagine, you just observe me. So whenever I am talking, I am moving my tongue. Whenever you are talking, you are moving your tongue. Whenever you eating, you are moving your tongue. So by moving your tongue, you can manage the food, and finally it will help in swallowing the food material into the buccal cavity. So in most mammals except the whale, the tongue is highly developed and capable of considerable movement. Okay. In mammals, the mucous membrane below the tongue forms the median flow. Okay, that is the median fold. Just you see, in mammals the mucous membrane below the tongue, I have told you that the tongue is covered by mucous membrane. The mucous membrane which is present below the tongue. So what happens in case of mammal? So in case of mammal, the mucous membrane below the tongue forms a median flow. That is a median fold. That is a median fold, and that is called as frenulum. That is called as frenulum. That is known as, very important thing, frenulum. So in case of mammal, so if this is the, for example, this is the tongue, then the median, this is the median part. So this median mucous membrane becomes folded at the lower part of the tongue, and that part forms a median fold. So this is known as median. So this is known as median fold. So this median fold, that is known as frenulum, which joins the tongue to the floor of the mouth. So this is the most important feature of the tongue of the mammal. So in case of mammal, one median fold is there, and that fold is called as frenulum, and this frenulum actually joins half of the maximum part of the tongue with that of the floor of the buccal cavity. In case of mammal, or in mammals, the upper surface of the tongue, so upper surface of the tongue, that is mucous membrane. So in mammals, the upper surface of the tongue bears 4 kinds of papillae. So for example, this is the tongue, you see this is the tongue, and this tongue has some eruptions or outgrowth like structure. So you see, for example, this is the tongue, so you can imagine, so very minute eruptions are there, and they are called as papillae. So these are papillae. So this is papillae. So in case of mammal, or in mammals, the upper surface of the tongue bears 4 kinds of papillae. 4 kinds of papillae are there. They are filiform. So they are filiform. So 4 kinds are filiform. You should remember this one. So these are the short questions. The second one, fungiform or fungiform. The second one, fungiform. This is another type of papillae. The third one is known as foliate. This is the foliate one. Foliate. And last one is the circumvallate. So circumvallate. So in case of mammal, these papillae are present over the surface of the tongue, and these papillae are of 4 types. They are the filiform, they are the fungiform, they are the what? They are the foliate, or there is the foliate form, and they are the circumvallate form. So 4 type of papillae are present on the surface of the tongue of mammal. And the most important thing is that generally in case of mammal, these papillae also possess the taste buds. That means they possess taste buds. So if this is the papillae, so this papillae also possess taste buds. So branch structure, so they are called as buds. So for example, this is the tip of the tongue. So this possess a particular type of what? Buds. This the side region of the tongue. This possess also a particular type of buds. This is the side also a particular type of buds. This is the middle region, particular type of buds, and this is the posterior region, particular type of buds are present, and these buds are called as taste buds. So along with the papilla, the tongue also possesses a number of taste buds, and the most important function of the taste bud is to sense the taste of the food material. So whenever we are taking food material, so either this is what? Sweet, either this is for example sour, either this is salt. This can be only observed by the taste buds. They are present in this papilla, and the most important thing is that out of this papilla, the filiform papilla, this is the filiform. So filiform papilla, these actually do not possess the taste bud, otherwise all the rest of the what? All the rest of the papilla possess the taste bud. So these are all about the nature of the tongue in case of the mammal. So now the most important structure which is present within the buccal cavity, that is the third one, that is the teeth. That means the buccal cavity or the derivative of the buccal cavity are, the first one is the what? Oral glands, the second one is the tongue, and what? The third one, that is the most important part, that is the teeth. So in case of vertebrates, 2 type of teeth are present. So vertebrates have 2 types of teeth attached to their jaw bones, because we know we have the jaw, and these teeth are, in case of vertebrates, I am telling about the vertebrates. So in case of vertebrates jaw, two type of teeth are there. The first one, so this is all about the teeth. So in case of vertebrate, two type of teeth are there. So teeth, so the first one, the first teeth, so first one is the epidermal teeth and second one is the true teeth. So first one is epidermal teeth, I am telling about this one. So epidermal teeth is best developed in cyclostome, epidermal teeth. They are hard, conical, horny structures derived from the stratum corneum. And in case of lampreys, they are found on the wall of the buccal funnel and on the tongue. Okay, so this is all about the epidermal teeth. Okay, so I am telling about the teeth, and teeth are of two type of their origin. The first one is the epidermal and second one is the true teeth, and the epidermal teeth are generally present in cyclostome, and epidermal teeth also present in case of the what? In case of the lampreys. So in lampreys, they are found in the wall of the buccal funnel of the tongue, that I have also told you during discussion of the tongue. So in case of tadpole, that is in case of larva of the frog, the larva of the frog is known as tadpole larva. In case of tadpole larvae of frog and toads, serrated epidermal teeth in rows are present on the lips. Again, in case of, so in case of tadpole larvae, so a number of teeth are present, serrated teeth are present. So they are present at the lip of the larvae. Okay, so these are also epidermal teeth. And in mammals, so in mammals, the adult duckbill, not the higher mammal, in mammals the adult duckbill platypus has epidermal teeth. So this is all about the epidermal teeth. So up to this I covered the buccal cavity and the buccal cavity having the derivatives of the buccal cavity, and up to this I covered the epidermal teeth of some vertebrate. Okay, so I am not have told you the true teeth or true tooth of the vertebrate, simply I discussed about the epidermal teeth in some lower vertebrates. Okay, so now let us take a break and conclude this session. In next session we shall study detail about the true teeth. Thank you, and we shall stop.